Hi students, this video tutorial will help you understand how to use variables of numeric data type. You will learn how to assign a value to a variable and finally how to perform calculations on the variables using math operators. So we'll be creating an application that lets the user enter the number of miles he or she has driven and the gallons of gas used. The application will then calculate and display the car's EMPG. So to get started, open the Visual Studio and begin a new Windows Forms application with the project named Fuel Economy. The setup of the application form is something which is being displayed on the screen right now. The table on your screen here shows the name of the controls that will go on to the GUI designer window of your form and what is the control type and the common setting. So for example, your first label will be called the miles prompt label and the text corresponding to it is enter the number of miles driven. So once you have all your controls on the form, we would go ahead and start with the coding. So double click on the calculate button, which takes you to the coding view. Here we start off with creating three variables, miles, gallons, and mpg. These three variables are of numeric data type double. It's a good programming practice to have comments specified next to the variable so that later when we are reviewing the code, we know that our variable is supposed to hold what value. So once we are done with the declaration of the variables, next thing is getting the value out of the text box. So when you're running it, the user would enter a value here in this text box. So we read the value of that text box using the text property, and the text box control will always interpret the text as a string. So every time a user enters a value here, the text box control interprets it as a string. We would have to parse it, we would have to convert it to the double data type before it is being assigned to the miles variable. In this case, we are doing this using the parse operator. So the text, the string that we extract out from the text box is then parsed, is then converted to a double type and stored it in the miles. We do the same exact thing with the gallons. So the gallons text box here, the user enters a value, we read that value using the text property, we parse it and then store it, assign that value to the gallons. The next thing what we're doing here is calculating the mpg by doing the math operator, dividing miles and gallons, and assigning that value to the mpg variable. Now, once the calculation has been done, we are supposed to display the value of mpg in this label. Now again, just like text box, label can only display text. So in order to display the text, we will have to convert the mpg value from double numeric format to a string data type, which is done using the toString method. Now, if you get rid of this toString, you will run into the compilation error because the label.txt cannot hold, it cannot display a double type, it can only display a string. So make sure that you have a string format assigned to it. Eventually, we'll code it for the exit button. Most of you are aware of this. So this dot close is used to close the application, close the form while you're running it. So now let's go ahead and run this application. So we have the enter the number of miles driven, say 50, number of gallons used were 6. So we calculate and it gives you the value. So now make sure that you click on the save all button to save any changes that you have made during the session. To summarize, what we have learned now in this tutorial is how to use variables of numeric data type. Secondly, how to assign a value to a variable. Third, how to perform calculations on the variables using the math operator. Fourth, how to read from the text box and parsing it and storing it inside a variable. And finally, how to converting it to a string to display it on the label. Thank you so much.